at, mate? What's the deal?
So the radio station I work at is it's called the Beat 92.5.
Uh-huh.
It's in Montreal, Canada. So it's a top 40 radio station and stuff, and it's the #1 station in the market, which is pretty cool. But it's
Good.
very, very modern pop, very modern, like top 40.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's like it's you know what would be the equivalent in Sydney? We're almost like a Kiss 106.5
Today FM. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it would be very Today FM-ish. It's hot AC. So
yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Kyle and Jackie O are very CHR. It's very like modern top 40. But
yeah.
You know, you listen to them at all, Kyle and Jackie O?
No. I struggle with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Is that wrong? I don't know. I can't do it. Yeah.
Not really. It's not wrong. No.
Yeah.
It's what it is.
It's a sad day, hey.
Dude, oh, I mean, I was just gutted to see the news.
Oh man, I could not. Firstly, I was just in shock. I knew that he'd had cancer, and I knew that it was. I didn't necessarily know that it was as much of an ongoing struggle as clearly it is. You know, so.
Yeah, well, it was. They're so cryptic about everything in that organization that it's like, you never hear anything. You don't know. You look for an update. You know, the only person that was really putting any info out there was Wolfgang. You know, on Twitter. Yeah. You know, he'd answer fans. You know, this and that, whatever. Oh, my dad. You know, whatever.
Yeah.
We never had like concrete answers like how his health was.
Yeah.
And then just out of nowhere, boom.
Out of nowhere, right? Yeah. It's really distressing, mate. I really am. It's saddened me much more so than almost anyone else that I've heard about. You know, the David Bowie thing or whatever. You know, it's
Bowie was man. That was a big one too. I remember where I was. Like, I was actually living in an old apartment of mine, and it was like 2 a.m, and it like popped up in like my email. I'm like, oh my! It was like a Google alert or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I was like, what? No way. And at the time, my best friend was the morning show producer at Q1043 in New York City, the biggest classic rock radio station in America. Call him up and woke him up like, dude, David Bowie's dead. And he's like, shit. So he's like, okay. And then they got the whole like classic rock crew at iHeart New York like together.
Yeah. We did a couple of those with Shania. We did that. Maybe what was it? Not iHeart New York.
Jingle Balls.
Jingle Ball. Yeah. At MSG.
I didn't know Shania played any Jingle Balls back in the day.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, it was maybe 99, I think. Maybe. Yeah, it's hard to say.
So I want to talk about all this Shania stuff because you know it's so interesting to me, and there's so much there's so little information out there about like that band and how it came about. You know, there's stories. You know, you've been on podcasts and stuff and told how you got the gig and everything like that. But when it comes to actually sitting down and talking about what the experience was like and like what the rehearsal phase was and how you know what I mean? So talk about you first get the gig. Okay, so I know the story about, you know, Mutt calling you on the phone, wanting to hear your voice and stuff like that. I've listened. I think I heard on another podcast.
Oh, you've heard that? Yeah. Oh, you heard that on another potty somewhere else.
Yeah. It's funny, actually. So it's funny that we're doing this tonight. So a while ago, I was looking for my Live Without a Net DVD, and right next to it was Up Live in Chicago.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So those were like the 2 DVDs that I grew up loving and watching.
Oh,
you know?
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that was 03. That one, July 03. Yeah. So we're on now. We're live now, aren't we? Right.
Oh yeah. I'm recording all of this. So
recording. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Okay.
Casual, very casual.
That's cool. Very good.
So talk to me about, you know, where were you guys rehearsing for stuff? Was this at like their like middle of nowhere place just outside of Lake Placid?
Yeah, which was their house. Yeah.
So it was their house. They were living there.
Well, Mutt's home studio, right, is still probably one of, if I'd say it's the biggest recording studio I've ever been in. It's absolutely gigantic. You could put maybe at least a 40-piece orchestra in, at least.
Oh my God! In the live room?
lots of live rooms. Like, oh yeah, it was like a gigantic room with a bunch of isolation rooms off to the side. Maybe there was at least 3 that I can recall, and there's a couple of other ones that we partitioned off. So the band was set up in that room. With a huge mixing desk out the front, I guess it was a monitor desk, and we were all on in-ears, right? Of course, it was like as per what was going to happen on the stage,
right?
And the amps are all in these isolation rooms, guitar amps, bass amps, all that sort of stuff. The only thing in the room was that you could hear was just little clatter of drums, right?
Right.
And Mutt would sit out the front with on a piano stool with his French book beside him, because he was learning French at the time, and to move to Switzerland, right? And this is early '98, and he would sit on the piano stool, and he had 2 large clear monitor wedges in front of him, and obviously he had a stereo mix there, and he would just like sit on the stool and just listen and groove and whatever. So, but what was strange, you might have heard me say this on the other podcast, but when I first arrived, he sat down with me and he said, so Randall, you need to do the, how are you with,
great impression, by the way.
Man, I feel like a woman. Are you okay with that? And you could tell that it's played with fingers, right? Not a guitar pick, right?
Yeah.
And so I did it played like. So I'd go, except with a capo, right? And I go. And he said straight away, he says, okay, so it's not the 1-5-1, it's just the 1-5.
Right, so it's just the 2 notes.
Just the 2. So I start playing that with my thumb and first finger.
Right, as you would.
And he says, yeah, actually, Randall, would you mind? The pad on your thumb is softer and broader than your index finger. So I think we might lose the 1 a little bit there. It might get a little bit 5 heavy. So would you mind playing it with the first and second fingers like that? And I thought, oh wow, weird. Yeah, like a chicken, like yeah. And so. He said you can use your thumb for the bends in that, but for the rest of it, and that's with the thumb.
Oh, you can.
It's subtle, but
But there is a difference in the attack there, though. I mean,
there is. So
that's just such a minuscule kind of minute thing that
so esoteric, right? So
yeah.
So that was my first day there was a Tuesday, and I'd worked through, and I had only just arrived from Sydney. I'd had a weekend in Manhattan and was just finding my way, and had just been poring over these cassette tapes, learning stuff.
So let me stop you there. So how did you learn the guitar parts? Did you get isolated tracks from the studio recordings?
Exactly.
So you got like all the Dan Huff stuff, and
Yep.
Got the Brent Mason.
It was just straight off the record with everything else just pulled down, and your parts pushed up. These are the guitar parts for the second guitar player or whatever, and you would cop the sound, the notes, note for note, the touch, the feel, as much of it. You just replicated that. Basically, was the idea. It needed to be replicated metronomically, absolutely to time. So we worked through every day that week. The only reason everyone had gathered there at their compound up in St. Regis Falls, it was called, was because I was coming. I had just arrived from Australia, and I was the last piece of the puzzle. I know that there had been 25 guys who had sat in my seat prior to me being there, and so I'm just thinking, damn, this is. I didn't even introduce myself as with my name. I just said, I'm number 26, and I guess I'll be gone tomorrow. I guess I'll be gone tomorrow too. But Andy had told me, the bass player, right? He told me that they had been, whilst they'd been rehearsing, which they had been for on and off for 3 months at this point. And we're talking 12 hours a day, mate. It's work. They just hammer it out time after time after time, and Mutt would be, yeah, this isn't quite right. This is nuance isn't working, blah blah blah. So it would be quite often 14 hours a day. I mean, it was work. So
Wow.
Andy had told me whilst they're doing this, they would say, well, who's gonna do the that high vocal part or whatever, and they kind of look around. Well, Brent, I can't. I go, Hardy, can you do that? And yeah, no, I'm already singing this part. And they'd say, oh, well, Mr. X is whoever Mr. X is going to have to do that. Whoever that guy is.
Right.
And so I introduced myself as number 26 or Mr. X. That's me. And so that became a little bit of a nickname for the rest of that tour. And whenever we had guests there, they would put the name of the whose guest they were on the laminate thing, on the pass, and it always just had an X on it. So I was just Mr. X. I put X's on the guitars and all that. It was kind of a bit of fun. So we get through to that Saturday, and I'm jet lagging, and I just don't know. I don't know what's happening, and they would say, "Okay, let's do Still the One." Still the one. But at that point, they say, if they said, they actually asked me, "What do you want to do? Do you want to do Still the One?" And I go, "How does that go? I don't know. I got no clue." Because it was just a mash of notes and songs and lyrics and parts and yeah, whatever. Yeah, let's do that. And they were only there for me, right? So that afternoon, I just had a raging headache, and I just wanted to have a rest, And anyway, and so I'm playing away. I go, and I just wanted to give my brain a little bit of downtime. So I started playing with my thumb and first finger.
Yeah.
Instead of this, right? And I see Mutt's up the front, and I'm just kind of looking at him, just kind of keeping one eye on him, sort of making sure. And he goes, after a little while, he's there and he's grooving along. He goes, looks over my direction. He goes, and I kind of went,
oh my God.
Sorry, like that. And he goes,
yeah. That's just that attention to detail. The fact that he's able to hear it.
This man is somewhere else, right? It was like, no way. Yeah. Another little example is during a previous week when they'd been rehearsing, Hardy was using a piano module. All it did was piano. And they were doing Still the One, and it got to the end. I think there's a B flat chord there near the end, and Mutt says, "Hardy, is that the same voicing you're using for that B flat chord? Is that the same as you've been doing? Same sound?" And Hardy goes, "Yeah, it's the same." He goes, "Yeah, it just sounds a little bit more dull, or something. Oh, okay." And so they go, "Oh, all right. Seems okay. Well, we'll have a look at it." Right. Next day, Mutt isn't there. He has to go somewhere else. He comes back the following day, except that day, when he isn't there, they fire everything up in the morning in the studio, and that module is just fritzing, and the readout's just going, doing gobbledygook. The LCD readout is gobbledygook. Yep. They have to get out in the manual, do a whole reinitialize, right? Restart the whole damn thing.
And the reboot the whole the whole card and
whatever it was, whatever I don't know what the unit actually was. So they do it, reinitialize it. It comes back and they go, "Oh, yeah, okay, that's good." Next morning, Mutt comes back and says, "Oh, Hardy, that's much better. What have you done?" All right.
So he heard the damn thing.
before the keyboard player did, right? He just knew there was something. This isn't right. There's something fritzing here.
So he heard it blow before it actually blew.
Or it blew, right? Exactly. He's a freak, mate. He's just an extraordinary human being. And yet, you get together and he and I were political buddies on the road, and so we were vehemently anti-Iraq and everything else. So and so we were sharing books and talking for hours and hours and hours on end about all kind, politics, life, religion, football. Yeah. Soccer. He tried to convert me to soccer, and I'd convert him to Australian football, and and we talk about American football and what a waste of space he thought that was. It was funny, but mate, you took the leg off an iron pot. He's just an extraordinarily well-rounded human being, and just great fun to be around. Yeah, talk about AC/DC or Def Leppard and all that. It's great. Yeah. Big fun.
It's cool to know that he's just kind of, he's just a normal dude and just so happens to be one of the legendary people ever.
Hey, I bought a copy of Back in Black, and I sort of apologetically I said, mate, would you mind kind of signing it? My brother's 40th birthday, I said, I thought it'd be very cool to get Back in Black signed by Mutt, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, and I was sort of apologetic because I'd never asked him to sign anything, and he goes, "Oh yeah, man, yeah, no problem. I'm a fan myself." He said, "We're at I think they were at it was either a soccer game or ice hockey game. It might have been Gretzky, but I'm not sure." And he said, and I was asking, I'm like a kid, man. I'm just asking this guy for his kind of embarrassed and asking this guy for his autograph.
Right.
I'm a fan. And he's just mate. There's no pretense whatsoever about the guy. He's just great. Yeah,
that's just so cool. So that means that there's an autographed copy of Back in Black autographed by somewhere in the world.
Right here in Sydney, and my brother doesn't even have it up on the wall. It's like,
what? Is it personalized?
Dude, I want to ask him for it back. Just give it back.
Yeah, dude, get that back. Put that on your wall.
Damn right. Yeah.
That's insane, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. Anyway.
So you're in rehearsals and you're working through all these songs and you're learning all these guitar parts.
Yeah.
When it came to, doing the rehearsals and everything, and you said so on that tour, were you guys playing the tracks live or was that only later on?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Were you guys like running the because at the time, and if you watch back and like you listen to a lot of like the Up tour, obviously there's tracks playing live with the band, which is awesome because it really fills up the sound. Yeah. But on the Come On Over tour, was there any tracks being played live, like for the backing vocals and stuff, or like was it on a grid and to a click and you had to be locked in, or else that backing vocal
absolutely part on a grid? It was gridded, metronomic. Absolutely had to be in time.
So let me ask you, so how did they do that back then, though? So was it like run by Pro Tools and it was on the grid and it was a multi-track and everything?
Yes, we did. We just had a main computer, and we had a click that would start. That was a recorded click, and Mutt would count it in. Not live. He was recorded counting it 1.
So it was at the beginning saying like, "Love gets me every time."
Something like that, or that was usually announced by the guy operating the computer, and he would say, "Careful of there's pyro on this one, pyro in the second verse, guys, careful." Right. That sort of thing, and then he'd hit play. Here we go, play, and you'd hear Mutt 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, and you start. For the second tour, that same Pro Tools rig was plugged into another Pro Tools rig via MIDI, clock, and or SMPTE, I think probably SMPTE, and that Pro Tools rig was changing all our patches and stuff, right? Changing all the guitar patches, so we didn't even need to have pedals and stuff up on the deck. And this is the big football-shaped stage, that was in the middle. That was the Up tour. So, how did
it sound in your in-ears at the time, though? Like, because the Jerry Harvey was just kind of creating the in-ear system and developing the in-ear monitors and finding parts, putting it together. How did they sound?
it was a legit every patch because they're using D5, the Digico D5 console. So every song had its own patch, and all the faders would move, and as we ran through in production rehearsals, we had weeks of production rehearsal in Hamilton for the Up tour, not far from you, right? And there would be a basic sort of bass and drum sort of what would you call it? A default position, I suppose. And then depending on the song, you'd want a little more of her vocal if I was had a tight harmony with her, or less of her if I needed to keep with the pedal steel or playing against a pedal steel. And each song would have its own little thing like that, and it sounded like as much like a record as you're going to hear. It sounded great. And the second tour also, we didn't even have any cabinets. There was no speakers for guitar rigs. There's amps just straight into Palmer speaker simulators, and then out to the PA. So if the PA went down, there was no guitar amps you could hear sort of down the back or anything. I mean, there was just you'd hear a kind of a clatter of drums sort of distantly in the the stage. Yeah.
So in your mix, would you have like the live drum sound, or would it like be? Okay. Would you have like the triggers like? No.
They only use triggers on some things, and 90% of, even on the Up tour, 90% of the drums were more than 90%. The drum sound was coming straight off the drums
from the kit. Yeah,
it was the kit, and Mutt would he'd be when he was at the desk, he'd be saying, "A little bit harder on the kick drum, please, JD. A little bit harder, please." And
really.
Constantly. And JD had stress fractures in his right shin from just slamming into the bass drum as hard as he could. Oh man, unbelievable. Just slamming. A little bit harder on the snare, please. A little bit harder, please. A little bit harder. Oh man, it was unreal. And okay, so the first tour, it was all completely live, except for there was some ancillary percussion where Hardy had just had his hands full, couldn't put in a triangle or whatever, something like that. Or there was
also be run by Pro Tools, like on a click, and you had to play to.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yes, exactly. So it just came off the computer. Also, there were the odd keyboard part that might come out that was maybe an exotic keyboard that they couldn't be bothered, didn't have time to sample at the time or whatever. And you don't want to take yet another keyboard out just for this one sound and one song. It's like, come on, just don't worry. We'll just sample. We'll just bring it off the computer, because it was stupid. Like, what are we trying to prove here? I mean, we're playing the songs. The song is, it's freaking real. So,
Yeah.
So, it was funny. So then we did the live at Reunion Arena one, where her hair is all braided, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so
that's the concert DVD, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So after that, Mutt and Mike Shipley pulled the backing vocals that we did. Off that and started putting them on the computer, as well as fiddles. It was just so backing vocals and fiddles, just because he likes to. You've heard his own vocals on the Def Leppard stuff. He just wants volume of voices, right? And so that we were singing along with ourselves, singing live. So yeah, it's
was there studio vocal playing too, or was it Mutt in the track?
No, it was us. No, we were singing to us.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Completely. Yeah. So when in between tours, I did a run with for about a year. I played with Rodney Crowell. I don't know if you know Rodney. He was married to Roseanne Cash, and he's just a great writer. Has had a bunch of hit songs as a writer, but is an artist in his own right. And so, but while playing with him, I went out and did the Leno show with him, and Paul Lime was playing drums on that thing.
Oh, cool.
Okay, so and he played on the Coming Over record, and
and the Woman and Me.
it was, yeah, really interesting. And so we're getting back into the car to take us to the airport straight after the show, after Leno. And so, and he said, so, you know, he was kind of interested about the Shania thing and how his drums had kind of, he felt that they had somehow made it, as you kind of are thinking, he felt that they'd made it to the computer and into the live show. And
and he thought that they were.
He believed that that was the case, right? So he says to me, he says, so how's it been? How's it been for you? It must have been kind of good. Has it worked out in terms of getting other work? You know, this playing with Shania thing. And I said, well, yeah, sometimes. I mean, for this, you know, Rodney took a punt on me, and that was great. And I ended up doing a lot of recording of backing vocals with him and some guitar and stuff. But I said, look, there's a few things. There's 3 issues. People either they don't think that you're available because Shania was just saturation. You know, you walk into Sam's Club or Costco or whatever, and there was, you know, they're selling big flat screen TVs that were all new then, right? And there she is playing, you know, the DVDs playing there, and it was just everywhere. And then we did these the specials, you know, the TV specials, the winter break down in Florida, and anyway, there was just all this stuff, and we did the Thanksgiving special. Remember? Oh no, that was later. That was the Up tour. Anyway, whatever. So she had reached saturation exposure, and so I said to him, people think that we're still on the road. They think you're going to be too expensive, and they think there's a lot of suspicion about it because they think that you may or may not be good, because I think a lot of that was mimed. And they think we got the gig because we were so incredibly good looking. See? Right.
You make a self-deprecating joke about that, but
that's not my case. Right? If they were looking for models, I would not have been there, right? So
anyway. You joke about that, but you fit the part. That's the thing. That band is so.
Yeah, and there were others that came along who were actually. There was a guy who was a good singer, good guitar player. Most of the guitar players I found, they're great guitar players with kind of backing vocal things. They found great singers that were kind of acoustic strum-along singers, right?
Yeah.
They need a lead guitar player and a lead singer. You're not going to be the lead guitar player or the lead singer, right?
No.
Now, they did find 1 or 2 of those, but one guy was very tall and bald. You know, not going to work with a chick that's 5'2", you know. So I was fortunate that they weren't able to turn the right stone before I showed up, you know, whatever. So, but nonetheless, so that's what Paul thought. He thought, well, and he sort of, when I said, well, people think that we're kind of miming, you know, and he goes, well, how much is coming off a computer, you know? I said, he said, because I can tell you, I know what the fills that I played, and Jay, that
he's
what
doing them perfectly.
I said, well, let me tell you about JD. One day during that week when I was up at the compound, up in, you know, wherever, up in the woods, I heard something in the back of the bus, because the tour bus just sat there the whole time while we were there, before it took back to airports and we all went out. And it turns out JD's back there, and he was marking out, like transcribing into drum music, which looks like, you know, probably
it's dots on mute music.
Dot. Yep, that's it. Right? Dots and crosses and all this. And he was transcribing What Made You Say That, which was the only song we did off that very first record Shania did.
What made you say that?
Cool. You know, it's a real poppy little.
It's so lame, but it's so fromage and so good.
It's so fromage. That's it. Perfect. Right. So he's transcribing every hi-hat hit, every little new. And I said, dude, you know, if there's any song here that Mutt wouldn't mind you kind of maybe
he gives two shits
take
about.
a bit of license with, surely it's this one. He said, man, as soon as he wants that, he'll let me know. And until that, I'm just going to play what's on the record. Right? And it was an absolute commitment of scientific transcription to him.
Yeah.
Every snare beat, every hi-hat, every fill was scientifically deconstructed, and he then put it together. And he still had his, on the last gig, mate, after hundreds of gigs, he still had his music there, and he was still just like,
yeah. I always found that interesting that he had his music stand there with the transcriptions written, and like he's there, like, you know, looking at it and, you know, doing it and doing the thing.
With the goggles on, didn't want to get pyro in his eyes. That's where the goggles came from, because the pyro can get in your eyes and it stings, like, you know, and he couldn't read, right? So yeah, so that, and I said that's what JD does, and Paul goes, oh, okay, well. And then you listen to the records. I mean, compared to the live stuff, it's kind of different. It's pretty different, you know. And
yeah, like, that's the thing. I like those live arrangements. You know, you listen to Up, you know, that first, you know, first portion of the first verse where it's just the guitars, but it's a completely different guitar part from the record and the live version.
Yeah. Well, it's super hard to kind of replicate that stuff, you know, really hard. Yeah.
So that alternate version of that first verse of Up, did that come to you guys? You know, like it's got that like jing 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 jing. But it's like four guitar parts.
Yeah,
it's like four different parts.
Three guitars. I think three guitars plus the bass. Yeah.
So did Mutt come in and say, all right, so this is the album version, but live we're going to change this, and I've written a fresh guitar part?
I think it was an evolution. As things rolled on, it might have been, look, I'm just not going to be able to change this guitar in the time from finishing Man, I Feel Like a Woman, because it was the second song up, right?
Yeah.
And there was practicality issues in terms of swapping over and having the time to, especially to that song, because the guitars were straight up right at the start.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we kind of made workaround type arrangements where it still sounded right. It sounded authentic, but it was different. Yeah.
Because I remember she played at like the Junos or something like that, and it was the same. Yeah. It was the same arrangement, but it was like a studio version of it. And I was like, oh, I wonder if Mutt, like, you know, went in and like redub that part on his own, or if he took like the live guitar from a rehearsal or something.
Yeah, who knows? I don't know. Maybe they pulled it off the Chicago thing, and I don't know, mate. Yeah, hard to say.
Wow. So when it came to replicating those guitar tones live, was there a lot of focus like put on, like Mutt sitting there saying, all right, so we used a Fender Twin on this guitar part, but it's like, how are we going to replicate?
No, it wasn't that anal. No, it wasn't that anal, but it was pretty anal.
Yeah.
So check this out. So that first week, like I said, the band had all been brought in. This is like when I first arrived, which was April. Our first show on the Coming Over tour was 29th of May. I came in about 29th of April. And Mutt was worried that I wouldn't have enough time to get to learn this stuff. You know, like for me, having a month to prepare for a gig, dude, I've got a gig this Sunday with a band I've never played with, and we're doing Love in an Elevator, and you know, it's like, what, you know, it's like a month. I'm worried that you come in so late. Are you going to be able to? You're like, chill, man. It's like, this is. Relax, everything's going to be fine, right? And I just had so much time. So first week was with the band. They all split. Then it's just Mutt, myself, Shania's off doing promo and you know, press junkets all day long in New York and whatever. And it's just he and I and Cookie, the chef. So and man, you know, I would just spend.
You can't pay for that shit.
Yeah, seriously. I was being paid, right? And so I was spending 14 hours a day programming. All I had was my little GT5 into two matchless HC30 heads, right? That was it. And the Fender cabinets, the Fender Tone Master 212 cabinets. So I had the cassettes of the parts. I would listen to that super carefully, just on a ghetto blast, and replicate the sound and just program the sound up, and then listen, put a different cassette in, listen to my vocal part, and was like, oh damn, that's okay. So I've got to stop that. I've got to hit the guitar on the upbeat, but I've got to start singing on this note on the downbeat, but I finished singing on that note. So I've got to go from there to there. In between, I've got to hit the up on the upbeat with that sound, and I've got to change the sound. Right in,
Man.
So there was moments that were, particularly "You in My Love" was a tricky one for that.
Yeah, that's a really weird guitar part where it's like dueling, trading, like back in.
I was doing that bit. Do 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 do.
Oh yeah, okay.
Through the chorus and stuff like that. So, mate, it was so. I'm there for that week, and I'm just learning. They have done, when I had the headache that afternoon, they had played through all 25 tunes without me, so I could then put it on. They had a little PA in front of me. I had wedges and a microphone and my guitar set up. I only came over with a single guitar, and we procured matchless heads from here and there, and just the GT5, because I could get around that quickly. I knew that it could basically do what I needed to do, and it was fast, So right. I did that and was just replicating those sounds as quickly as I could, learning the parts. And
it's interesting though that you're working with Mutt Lange on the Shania Twain World Tour, where you could technically have an endless budget, and you're playing with a GT5.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I had. But it was what I knew, and I had to deal with something sort of. I didn't have time to build a whole rig, with racks and switching units and stuff like that. Yeah. The other guys already had all that stuff, and it was already set up. I didn't have time to set that up. Just and try to chase down buzzers and hums, and it was just, here we go. We just got to program this shit and make it happen, right? So that's what I was doing. And Mutt had come in from time to time through the day, and he came in his dressing gown one night, and we were talking about the chili peppers and his gardening and just
it was standing there like in his pajamas, like
it was just the best. It was just, mate, I was pinching myself, and Cookie, the Chris Mitchell, his name is, a New Zealand guy. He was the chef, and so he'd come in at lunchtime. He'd say, Mr. Waller, what would you like today for lunch? Just kind of playing it up, And then Mutt was not there for the last 3 days, I think, of that, or 2 or 3 days. He'd gone to Switzerland to look for their house, right? And so Chris would come in and say, "What would you like for dinner, Mr. Waller?" And he was a funny bugger, and we'd go out, kind of take an hour off here and there, and do a bit of mountain bike riding around the lake that they had on their property, and it was surreal. So that was the second week. Then the next 2 weeks was in the ice skating arena in Lake Placid, where the Winter Olympics were. It might have been 82 or something like that. I can't remember. So. Anyway, so we set up, strangely, this had not already been discussed, because the crew had set up our guitar speakers on the stage, and the stage had, you might remember, it had those kind of treadmills on it, and it spun around. It was all this kind of stuff. It was pretty weird, and there was no real space. It was clearly designed as an aesthetic thing, and but we had the guitar amps on the stage, and the front of house guy that we had come from Springsteen, and as much as I love Springsteen, there's not so much in like compared to Shania stuff. It just isn't so much in the way of parts, that need to stick out. It's normally kind of a bunch of guitars thrashing away at the river or whatever,
Right.
And so anyway,
was Nigel Green the front of house guy?
Eventually, but no. Back at this day, there was this guy called John Kearns who'd come from Springsteen, and so Mutt walked in, and I mean, I'm thinking, man, this is like I had one ear out, you know, and listen to the bass drum, and it was like a. So if you're, it's like it was just cacophonous, empty 14,000 seat arena filled with 80 hertz, 100 hertz. You know, it was a nightmare. It was just horrific. And it was like, I'm thinking, dude, you're just going to have to get on the graphic of this PA and pull down, just get rid of that stuff.
The frequencies.
Get rid of that shit. So anyway, Mutt walked in and like he stood up at the desk and goes, I could see him say something to Kearns. He just goes, walks down the front. Stop. And I thought, yeah, here we go. No. This isn't going to fly, right? He says, okay, everyone take half an hour. Guys, everybody take half an hour. I'm just going to work with JD on the drums. Okay, here we go. And so that took about 5 or 6 hours. Then working on, firstly, bass drum. And first, put on the record. Now, Man, I Feel Like a Woman. Put on the record. Boom, 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 boom. And he's like, dude, you know, it was like he was. I guess the go-to thing was these guys thought, but you're a studio guy, you don't know anything about it. And he was just like, well, studio schmudio, wherever I am, that sounds disgraceful. We can't have this. This just sounds like shit. What do you mean? We've got to get rid of this bottom. We've got to get rid of this swamp of bottom end. How do we want it to go?
Yeah, we wanted to have attack and hit you in the fucking chest.
Right? Bam! Bam! So it hits you, right? So it's not rocket science. That's what everyone wants to hear. You just want to slap, you know?
Yeah.
And so it took hours retuning the PA and pulling down that bottom end, and then turning the mic up on JD's kick and adjusting where it was and where the mic was, get it right up on the head so that, you know, we've got some slap and attack on the damn thing, you know, and all of the stuff that most bands do, you know, and eventually then he got around the kit and then moved on to the bass guitar. Okay, here we go, high pass filter on that, you know, get rid of all the right. Then on to Brent, the guitar player. Okay, Brent, what sounds do you have? What's first song? Man, I Feel Like a Woman. Here we go. Through every patch. I had 42 patches, and every single patch. You just went through. All right, Randall, what's next? What's the next song? And I remember I was doing If You Want to Touch Your Ass, right? Mm-hmm. Which we naturally called If You Want to Touch Your Ass, right? And I had the little electric sitar part, which I had sort of approximated as closely as I could with the GT5, which, yeah.
Hold on a second. Where is sitar in that song?
It's that sort of a part. So
that's an electric sitar?
Oh, I think it is, yeah. At least on, yeah. It's something like that.
Oh, yeah. If you want to get to know what.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, man. Yeah, that's it. So it was something like that. So, but check this out. While I'm playing this, so he says, okay, Randall, what's the next one? I said, you know, if you want to touch it, it's like, oh, okay, it's yeah, you've got this, yeah, all right, let's have a listen to that. So I go, and he go, okay, right there, Randall. It starts with a 5-1-5-1. Okay, that second 5, I'm not hearing that as clearly as the first 5. So he wanted it to be
right, like really
hit that, but not self-consciously. It had to be. Not just not just thrown away and dismissed. It had to be. And he said, so can you play that like that now, please? You know, mate, it was every sound, every song. Here we go. Hey, check this out. I forgot I even had this here. There you go.
Oh wow.
That has the list of all the patches on it. This is long defunct. This one, the power supply went out, but that's the one that I programmed everything on first, right?
Wow.
Some of the kind of labeling has come off, right?
So each patch was completely different from the next, like, or did you have like a basic rhythm sound and then
there was fairly, you know, the Man I Feel Like a Woman was a basic rock thing, and that would closely be used much of a muchness for, say, I'm Out of Here, or what's the other one? I always like that one.
Love Gets Me Every Time.
Love Gets Me, yeah, great. So that was kind of like that, plus or minus, depending on the guitar and the pickup, if it's a single coil or double or whatever. But there were sort of templates that you would then modify. Yeah, that's what I had. Yeah.
So then when it came to doing doing the up stuff live, I mean, it's a completely different sounding record. It's a completely different sounding approach to guitar parts.
Yeah.
I mean, those guitars, I mean, some of the Michael Thompson stuff on that record is just like,
yeah, wacky, right?
Yeah, it's
weird,
nuts.
isn't it? Yeah. How's that solo that I had to do in my car, right?
Yeah, pretty with all the harmonics and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird, but it sounds great.
It's cool. Yeah, it's cool. It was hard to learn and hard to pull off that harmonic stuff. It was some like 4th fret harmonics in that, and it's pretty strange. And had to have lots of gain for it and stuff, you know, make it work.
So the guitar parts, like my favorite song off that album is She's Not Just a Pretty Face. And I remember messaging you about like the tone and stuff like that in that song. You know, live, were you playing, how did you recreate that guitar tone live? Or were you like playing to like, or was the studio track playing along with you to create?
No studio tracks. No. We never had studio guitars playing along. As far as I know, anyway. No.
Yeah.
No.
So the band was live, but the backing vocals and like the percussion
vocals,
and stuff.
Fiddles. As far as I know, backing vocals, fiddles, ancillary percussion, the occasional keyboard.
Yeah.
That's still it.
Yeah, like that intro keyboard. Like how do you like how do you recreate that live?
I think they might have sampled that straight from the from whatever it was. I think it was a I've got one here, the JV 1080, JV 5080, whatever it is. So the Roland thing, Mutt had like 10 of them. He loved mucking around with those things. Yeah. No, most of that's played, mate. Even the sounds are copped and just everything. It was just work. It was so much work.
Yeah.
To replicate that stuff, you know. And you know,
what about the guitar parts there? You know, like and she's Not Just a Pretty Face, like for the chorus, you know, the bow down, down. Was that would you guys like orchestrate that where you were playing like a portion of the chord and then Brent would play like another portion of it, or like how? Because there's if I watch the Up Live in Chicago DVD, you know, you're playing here, but you go to do like the B chord and like your fingers kind of stay in the same place, and I'm like, but that doesn't make sense because like down here, is he playing a variation?
Yeah, no, it's whatever it is. I can't quite remember that one. It's it's been a long time. I can't remember it.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, it was something like that. But no, I can't remember it. But no, whatever we're playing there it's just that's the way that it is. Yeah. No, there's no kind of skullduggery there or anything like that. No, it's just what I should do is I have a version of the house video.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it I put together and put on a I don't know if you ever saw that. It's a It's just a YouTube thing. If you,
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
okay, that's all from the in-house thing at the Staples Center.
The camera crew.
So, yeah. So no one's ever seen that. It's just, no, it's not been released, is what I mean. Yeah. So
it's kind of,
I'll see.
Weird, it's like a weird fan exclusive for like fans like me that like the musicality and like to talk about the gear and stuff and
audio straight off the desk. Yeah. So it's as real as it gets, sort of thing. Yeah.
So that audio straight off the desk, or was it like was it a monitor mix?
What about it?
Was that audio like from front of house or a monitor mix? Because it's super high in that audio.
Yeah. What's high?
No, I was saying it's very dry. It's very dry sounding. Like I was expecting
straight off the console. Yeah. It's just straight like mics and not even most of it isn't mics. It's straight off a speaker simulator. So there's no room. There's no ambience that.
Yeah.
All of us were using speaker simulators, no speakers at all, except I think Mark had an amp for his pedal steel. That's it. So other than that, no speakers. So that's why it's dry. Yeah.
It's funny you said that, there would be backing vocals and fiddles on the tracks. Because and you did point out that Mutt would have, JD like really slam that kick and there was like an attitude. If you listen to the band now, and you watch the band, the biggest difference between the old band and the new guys is that the fiddles were aggressive. It was like, and if you listen to them now, they're even on stage and they look flimsy. Like it's like soft, And I'm like, no, those aren't Shania fiddles.
There's no real attitude to it, no aggression.
There's no attitude and there's no attack. It's like I said, it sounds flimsy. Like if you listen to the band, it was like freaking powerful. Yeah. And now it's the fiddles are like it's not like it's not sexy.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. I know exactly what you're saying. I had to one day in Quebec City, I had to go to the US consulate and get my whatever it was to get my visa sorted out, right? And so I was late to sound check, which you just never late to sound check, right? You just doesn't happen. Yeah. That's just not something you do. Yeah. So I had to be late. Everyone knew why, and at consulates you just take a number and you wait, and it had to be done. So I came in late, about half hour late, and they're in the middle of sound check. And I was walking down in that arena, kind of rustic, kind of pretty. It was back then. It was fairly primitive arena in Quebec City, right?
Yeah, that arena is like it's not even being used anymore. It's gone.
Oh,
right.
They
have a brand new arena there now because they were supposed to get the NHL hockey team and then they ended up not getting it. So
right.
So they're like, okay, it's tabarouette. We're stuck with the arena. We got to put the people in there. We need to get the Quebec money back. The taxpayer, they're very upset. Don't get the hockey, no Labatt, the drink. You need to go to Def Leppard. We filled the arena.
Yeah, what's the problem?
Yeah.
Right. That's so good. So I'm walking in and I'm sort of hustling to be late. I'm going, oh, damn, sorry, everyone. And I walk in, but they're in the middle of playing Boots, right?
Yeah.
And I just had to stop because everyone's playing except me, right? And holy mother of God, that just sounds insanely great. Every single thing you could pick out is, all this kind of stuff, and like little guitar nuances, pedal steel, and it was like, man, it was insanely great. So
you heard everything in the arena. It was
everything. It was just so good. And that was Nigel, and a guy called Brad Maddox, who'd also done front of Def Leppard forever and Rush, and he's a master on his own.
I think he was Van Halen's front of house guy too in the last couple of tours.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Okay. So well, let me ask you, what was the tipping point of the Springsteen guy? How come he got the boot?
So during that 2 weeks of production
So did
rehearsal,
he make it on the road? Did he make it to the
John's a
first
great
show?
guy. Yeah, a little bit. John, he's a really good guy, but sort of didn't understand that sort of mindset. It's a different mindset, And so once we got on the road, Mutt was out there for the first few months, I guess, and he would be standing behind them, kind of,
man,
and he'd be going, John, banjo, right, banjo. Okay, no, back down now, back down. Ready, fiddles now. Ready, leading up to the fiddle solo. Rest of the fiddles down. Fiddle up, solo up, Allison up.
Oh man!
And he'd be like, what? And he's just going, whoa, being monstered by Mutt. Just.
But imagine that you're
the guitar solo. Ready, 3, 2, 1, now. Ready, guitar. The guitar. It's just got to be up. The first note of the solo. It's not good enough. It's the second note of the solo. It's got to be up, man. It's got to be there. All right. Have you heard do you know the record? Well, yeah, I've heard the record. Yeah.
No, that's not good enough though.
Do you know the record?
Yeah.
You know it. It had to be. That's what Mutt was looking for, and we went through a few that just some were really close and very good, all good at what they do, but eventually they said, Nigel, we need you, man. We just, you understand what Mutt wants, what Shania wants, and we just need you, So he did.
Wow.
And that's where it really came together.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, with those front of house guys, it's a lot of guys are just so purist, like in the town I'm from, like I'm from a small town, like just outside of Montreal, like where I like born and raised on the native reservation. And wow. So in our town, we have a big country fan base. Like everybody loves their country and Western.
Right.
So I've, done sound for bands and stuff like that, around the circuit and whatnot.
Yeah.
And for me, the biggest thing that stands out is the country bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Where the guys that roll up with their PV combos and their PVPAs, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Exactly.
Oh, dude.
And they're like, I got to tell you, the Man in Black wouldn't have a big reverb on this thing here. No. What are you doing? No, the kick drum. What? No, it's got to sound like, and it just always sounds like mud. It always sounds like mud.
Mud. Yeah.
So when those guys go into do, they don't understand.
No.
They don't understand Shania. They don't understand Mutt. They don't understand the sound and the sonic landscape of those records. It's like it's completely alien to them.
Yeah. So true. It's absolutely correct. Yes.
So they think, the fact that he's on the road with the Boss, thinking like, oh yeah, the Boss. I'm the sound guy for the Boss. But to go to being on, mixing the Boss and then having Mutt Lange basically producing you in an arena for his songs.
Yeah. It's like, if it was me, look, John's a great guy, and I'm sure with Boss he was very good, but it was just a different mindset. And if it was me, wouldn't you, or yourself, or most people, I would just think, man, just teach me, please.
Yeah, that's what I was. I'm like, Mutt, listen, stand at the console, do it,
help me out.
I'm gonna watch.
Yeah,
and
that's it.
I will take it from there.
Yeah, right. And I'm a quick learner, and I'm just.
But you would think that at the front of house guy, and you're going out and be Shania Twain's front of house mixer, knowing that it was Mutt Lange produced and Mutt Lange written.
Right.
And on top of it,
he's standing behind you.
And he's standing behind you. Listen to the record.
Right.
Know when there's a guitar lick in verse 2 and like every bar 6,
He wanted every sonic moment to be pushed and to take draw focus when it was required, and to go, that's cool. Oh, now we're there. Oh, now we've got, that's what the record does, right?
And it makes sense.
Oh man. So I don't know.
what was the biggest difference between, you know, being in Shania's band and then going out and like doing like the Keith Urban stuff that you did and like what was the biggest difference?
Budget. You know,
right.
Keith
So
was just
so you joke about that. So was the Shania gig good?
yeah. Well, it was for me. Good Lord, I'd never seen that much money in my life. Yeah.
Right. You know, so it must be lucrative to be on the road. So you got all your expenses paid. I guess you get the flights, you get the first class accommodations. I would think.
Yeah.
You know, you're flying in the jet.
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah. You know, so and when it came to like you know, having guests at the show and stuff, was there like a ticket allotment? Were you like, you know, I have 10 friends coming to the show tonight?
Most of the time, very cool. Most of the time, it's fine. Not a problem. It was, they took care of us really well. I don't have any complaints about any of that. You know, it was a little bit different when Susie and we had a 3-year-old at the time for the second tour. First tour, she came out with me quite a bit. Second one with Sophie a little bit, but that was sort of ended up becoming problematic, and I guess I was seen as the problem child there because I wanted to have wife and child there. You know, I didn't like the idea of going 3 months, you know, over in Europe without them being there. You know, it's like so we just tried to make it a blanket rule that we're not apart for more than 2 weeks. You know, so and a lot of that meant that we were driving ourselves and traveling independently. And in Europe, that's trains, planes, and automobiles, and just all kinds of cabs and whatever. No Uber then, and we didn't have the internet quite as full-bodied, let's say, fully featured as it is these days. And it was difficult, you know. So, yeah.
Damn. That's cool though. What a great, you know, experience and, you know, life to live at the time. So when she decided to come back and she was like, fuck it, I'm going to Vegas. I'm divorced. I'm getting back on stage and I'm going to show these motherfuckers that I still got it.
Yeah.
Was there any consideration or talks with you to come back and join that band?
I actually sent her new management a letter. And I said, hey, you know, I would love to be involved, you know, have been up to this point. I don't know if you know, it was new management. And I didn't want to presume anything that, you know, that they knew of who I was or anything like that. I'm sure they didn't. And so I just wanted to say, hey, you know, I'm that guy that played on the last, you know, X number of, you know, Letterman's, Leno's, Super Bowl, DVDs, whatever. And I'd love to be involved. I feel a sense of real commitment to her as an artist and as a friend, you know, and would love to be involved. And I'm waiting to hear back.
Oh,
yeah. So
anyway,
it's just, I think they
had a couple of members of the old band, you know, in the Vegas resident. The first one had Hardy, had JD, Andy was back, and Corey obviously, but
right. That's it. That's I don't know.
Even Allison came back for like the last tour.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. She and Corey were here about I think it was December before last. So So but I didn't hear. So I'm waiting to hear back on that one. So anyway, it's a shame. I would love to have been involved, but I think they don't like the idea of flying people around the world, and it starts to get expensive. And maybe it's fair enough. I get that.
Well, I guess it is what it is.
It is what it is. There you go.
Well, damn. So talking about that Letterman performance and all those TV things. Like, was it the same kind of deal? Like, you know, you guys were playing live and you had to, you know, do the whole rehearsal thing and
okay, check this out. So one time I think it was the first time we did Letterman on the Up thing. So we were rehearsing in Jersey somewhere across the river, and Mutt had this idea where the second tour he didn't want to use speakers, and he felt it was too volatile, and depending on where you put the mic, things moved and changed and
changing buildings.
That's it. And as you already know, his ear hears things that, you know, that we don't. So
probably in a cavernous, empty arena, he could probably pinpoint things in the mix.
Right. There you go. So So he's got this idea. We want to program sounds and have it just identical every night out of black box type units that you just dial up a preset, bang, there it is.
Yeah.
So to that end, we started off with pods, the little kidney bean pods, pod XTs,
the little
right?
red things.
Pods.
God.
Line 6 pods, right? And it was the latest ones at the time. It was Pod XT or whatever it is. So,
well, hold on. I'm gonna go on eBay and try and get one.
oh yeah, I've got one here. You can have it. I'll send it to you. I will pay to send it to you.
If that is the one from the Shania tour, I will totally take it.
Okay, it's all yours. So check this out. So we were doing get you good, right?
Right.
So, yeah. So we're learning. And Nigel has all the tracks from the multi-track from the recording.
Yeah.
And so our job was to once again replicate the sounds. We were distributed. This is your part. This is your part for this bit, and your part for that bit, and for the chorus, it's that bit. You have to replicate those sounds. Change if you need to between, you have this preset, that preset, and make sure you just play it metronomically. Here's these are the parts we want you to sing, and all of that. And so we would take turns in bringing the pods to Nigel and the console, and he would plug it in, and we would muck around with the sounds. And we had an EQ, we had the TC electronic MIDI parametric. Was it parametric? No, or graphic EQ. I think it was graphic EQ. No, or parametric. I can't remember. Anyway,
but it was like an analog piece of gear. Or was it like plug-in?
Yes, it was, but it had MIDI, but it had presets, right? MIDI presets, so you could change it, and it would change. And you could there would be an overall boost and stuff like that. And so on that, for example, on that LA thing, the thing that's straight from the front of house thing, right? That video that I put on YouTube.
Yeah.
That solo on Holding On for Love, that so that you can only do that kind of clean sound if the gain's obviously right down and you have some compression on it and stuff like that. So that's what I did. But then after it comes out of the amp, it goes to the speaker simulator and then the EQs, and just push the EQ up, level up. So when I select that solo preset, bang, there it is. It's the gain's down on the amp. Nothing's getting fed into the amp, but it's being boosted post amp. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. So it's coming out. So you hit. Okay, so you got your guitar, pod, speaker simulator, EQ.
So that for the Letterman thing, yes. But yeah, I was referring to something else. Don't worry, I'm confusing the issue. So so we go to Nigel. We get the two outputs of the pod, put them into the console, and he would go, okay, this is your part off the record. Here we go, and he'd just go, bam, while you're playing the part, right? And he wants to hear no difference while the rest of the record is playing.
Wow. Okay. Right.
We're just A-Bing between. This is you. This is the record. See, the record just sounds clearer. What's the problem? Was it just level? What is it? Is it is it too much gain and you need a bit more compression? All of that.
Yeah, but is the pod gonna recreate the same exact tone that he did for the album?
Hard work. It was so hard to get it sounding anything like palatable.
Did you ever ask Mutt, hey, Mutt, what amp or how did you get this tone on the album?
Well, what we ended up doing is using the GT5 and everything I'd used with the previous album, previous tour, with the matchless heads into speaker simulators, Palmer speaker simulators. So there was no speakers at all. And out of the speaker simulator into the 1128, the MIDI programmable EQs.
Yeah.
And then you could program in a boost on that or a cut, or if there was
But I mean, even if you're doing that though, like I said, if you're using the pod or if you're using the GT5, like, and if Nigel's sitting there A being you album, why, how come you don't sound as clear as the album? But that pod's not going to recreate what he did on the record. So whether you manipulate it as much as you want with EQ, and
we did the best that we could. So
yeah. So but did you ever ask Mutt, listen, Mutt, we're trying to recreate these tones. What did you use on the album?
Not interested, he said, let's just replicate it with the pods because I want everything to be black box and no speakers and stuff like that. Yeah. So it was an interesting exercise. So not only did we replicate the sounds, but Nigel used that experience to replicate the levels. So with the end game being, check this out. Usually at Ed Sullivan, they don't like it. They've got their house guy, right? And it's unionized and the front of house guy. And for Letterman, I think the front of house guy, for the most part, did a great job, right? Really good. The house band always sounded great, right?
Yeah, of course.
So we walk in and we're doing this song and we've got pods on little stands behind us. After the end game was to walk in for Nigel to say to the guy, I just want you to know everything. Zero the console, right? Zero EQ, because we've done that. We've got that on our programmable EQs. Zero, no, all the EQ out.
Zero the board.
Zero the board. Good. Ready? 3, 4, go. And there it was. And that's what it sounded like. Have a listen to it. That's what it sounded like. Get you good on Letterman. And that's what it sounded. That's what we did. Afterwards, Will Lee said to Andy, the bass player, I think it was, he said, man, you guys are lucky. Like, we never, like, Dave doesn't like anyone miming on the show at all, And they kind of said, oh, no, we weren't miming. We were playing. Like, what? No, you didn't. There was no amps, dude. You're like, yeah, pods. Here, come have a look. We've got the pods on snare stands with a little, like, instead of holding a snare drum, you've got like a little shelf with the claws, right? 4 pods along the back, right?
So I think in a way, you guys were really innovating the whole landscape of what touring was eventually going to become.
Well, that was a workaround. The fact that they weren't going to let Nigel on the console. So, well, screw it. We'll work around it. So.
It would have been funny if Nigel had like the drums and everything running into the Pro Tools, and then he just sent to left and right. Said, "Here, just zero left and right."
Well, see, that's where it's pointing to, right? The logical conclusion of that is, oh well, no, here's your stereo pair, right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I mean, if I wanted total control and they're not going to let me on the board, okay, in rehearsal, we're going to dial everything into Pro Tools.
That's it.
And then we're just going to send them a feed.
That's it. We'll send you what we want to send you. Yeah, that's it. Exactly.
Because, you can't leave it up to some union guy to, give you cannonball snare or not.
Exactly.
He doesn't know.
Exactly, bro. Yeah, that's it. It's funny, isn't it? Yeah, so that was funny. That was a one-off. We only did that actual thing once. The rest of the time, we'd run in like little matchless combos and play like normal people,
Right. Damn. Funny, man. I love shit like that.
Yeah, it is. It's a crazy one. Yeah, it's good. I need to have a listen to that and see what it actually sounds like. I think it was kind of okay, maybe. I don't know.
You must have tapes of all that stuff.
I've got it on a video, on a VHS somewhere, Yeah.
So do you have any like old rehearsal tapes and stuff like from the band like starting out, or like do you have any like cool monitor mixes that sound like ready to print to CD? Or
I've got a I don't know if you can hear it. I just pulled up these. This is the where are you? You can't see me. Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
You can. All right. I don't know if you can hear this, but this is we did a medley in the Dallas show. It was The Woman in Me, Home and Where His Heart Is, Woman in Me.
That's actually on the Woman in Me Diamond edition that came out. So
is it?
It's okay. It's on the CD.
Yeah, I love playing that. So on a stereo pair is Mark and myself playing
record.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we rehearse so long to get it like that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. I've got that. I can send that to you. Send you those tracks. It's kind of fun.
Send me all of it. I'm not gonna send it to anybody. I just want to hear it and enjoy. I just got new studio monitors. I'm like, I want to listen to some cool stuff. I saved up my money, man.
Yep.
And through this pandemic, not being able to go anywhere or anything, I said, fuck it. I'm buying some new monitors.
Yeah.
I invested in Atom A7X.
Ah! I'm about to buy some today. Literally today.
I burnt them.
Beautiful. I heard them at a friend's place 2 days ago. I said, that's it. He's got the big ones as well, which
yeah.
Like they're 10K, right? Like
ridiculous.
It's crazy money. But the A7X, mate, with a sub.
Yes, that's exactly what I got. I burnt them in for 4 hours today, and I was listening upstairs because I'm in this is my podcast radio studio.
Yeah.
And then the wall over is like my recording studio. I was sitting upstairs in my closet, and I was listening to Up. I had the Up album.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So I'm sitting clear as day through my freaking walls.
Yeah, beautiful. Aren't they?
I mean,
they are insane.
Dude, worth every penny.
Killer. Yeah. So I'm buying some today. Yeah, right. How funny.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, no, they're great. So yeah, send me all of that. If you got like instrumentals and stuff, man, I want to hear all of it. Because that Up album and like all that shit, it's like it's so funny how the vocal does in fact mask a lot of the stuff in it, and it's so clear in the mix that it does take your attention away from everything else in the mix, you know? Right. But when you strip it away, it's like, oh my God, there's like a reverse part of like a guitar sweat.
Yeah,
there.
Right.
What? Like
some wacky stuff that's kind of it's kind of incidental and atmospheric and cool when you're listening on headphones. You go, hang on, what, you know? I do have the track. I have all the tracks for "Get You Good Somewhere," I think, and that's all just drum machine. You know, it's
yeah. Dude, send it. I want to hear all of it, and I promise I won't leak it anywhere. If it does, you know where it came from.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. Yeah, cool.
There's actually a buddy of mine in Australia. His name's Luke Gallagher. Do you ever hear of this kid?
Maybe. One rings a bell. So
he's a big Shania fan, but he's a dude. I mean, killer guitar player. Like the Brent Mason, like chicken picking.
Oh, yeah.
Shit. Okay. Like he's actually up in Perth, and him and his brother. He's the guitar player. His brother's the drummer. Dude, they do like Van Halen covers. They did a cover of Dreams, and like it sounds exactly. I mean, they replicated the sound of 5150.
Wow.
Yeah.
But he's kind of country though.
He's a country guy and a rock guy. He's a country guy and rock guy. He's like me. We're like brothers. It's hilarious.
Wow. Okay. And what's the name of the act?
So he doesn't actually have an act. He just kind of like does his own thing. Like, hold on. Actually, I'm on Bluetooth, so I can play you. This. Here you go. Hold on. What happened? Oh, I lost it. Hold on. That's him.
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah.
It's nuts. Yeah, it's crazy.
Cool. That's fun.
Dude, I'll send you his profile. He'll get a big kick out of it if you give him a like or something.
Yeah, good. Yeah, absolutely, I will. Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
I was wondering if I got some. There's a little thing that I just played a solo on here for a friend. Where is it? Where is he?
So you're getting a pair of Adams. What kind of like interface and stuff are you using in your home studio?
I still got an old Fireface 800.
Nice.
The
old stuff, you can't really beat it. I mean, they're workhorses, you know.
I had it for probably 16 years. This sounds okay. I don't know. I had to throw it in once to have a new power supply, and just keeps on going. It's just on here 24/7, you know. So I don't know. Weird.
So you leave it on just sits there.
Everything's on just all the time. Yeah.
Let me play. This is gonna blow your mind. Hold on. Let me play the them doing Dreams. It's him and his brother.
Oh yeah.
And like.
Oh, definitely. I'll find him. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you got to find this stuff.
Good fun. Yeah.
So what did you say you're playing? You said you were played on a buddies thing or something.
Oh, I've done a bunch of stuff. I've recorded a few things lately that I've sort of co-produced here. I don't know what this. Can you hear that? All right.
Yeah.
Is it? Get rid of all that. Get through to the. Oh, maybe this is the version without the solo.
Oh, it's the backing track.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, never mind. Nah. Stupid. Yeah, no, that wasn't it. So I don't even. I thought maybe I had it here somewhere, but I don't. Never mind.
And listen, man, you're not kidding. You're not kidding anybody. I know that you are a closeted lover of the pod. I know you use
I am.
the pod on that song. Don't be lying.
Yeah, nah. Yeah.
Pod all the way. That should just be your cover photo on Facebook. The pod.
It's disgraceful. It's disgusting. Stop it. Yeah. All right.
I love that you're saying that because a buddy of mine, his band, their guitar player was using that red bean pod thing for
the
5 years,
thing, right?
And we all hated it.
Yeah, it's bad. It's like stop. It's not to be done.
Actually, you know what? Hold on. I mixed a show for my buddy's band where he was using the pod. Yeah. Let me see if do I have it on here? Oh, here we go. This is the pod. Here we go. Wait. So that's pod. Hold on. It's just, you know.
It's all right.
It sounds fun, but you know.
Yeah, you mixed well, mate. Well done.
Oh, thanks, man. It's almost like I'm all self-taught and just by listening to Mutt's stuff. So
yeah, right. There you go.
When you have a background of listening to stuff like that, when you hear shitty music, you're just like, that sounds terrible.
There's something wrong with that. Yeah,
something wrong with that.
Try this. Know? Here we go.
Spirit of Rock, Show 97.7 has the latest from Randall Waller and big rock tune from Down Under. Yeah, catch him this weekend at your local club, and you can smoke inside.
I doubt it. Not in this neck of the woods.
No, not over here. Actually, on my native reservation, we're a sovereign territory, so all the clubs and bars, you can actually smoke inside. So,
cool. What people are they?
We're Mohawks, so you know the haircut? That's from my people.
Well.
Yeah. So we're part of the 5-nation confederacy, now 6 because we adopted the Onondaga Nation. So we're the Mohawks, Cayugas, Onondaga, Seneca, and Oneida, and we're part of the Haudenosaunee people of the northeastern part of Canada. Montreal and Quebec City, it's all unceded native territory. That was our territory, and basically the French and English came over and said, "Fuck you! You're either with us or them, or we kill you." So
yeah, right. Crazy.
Yeah. So actually, where you funny enough, where Shania and Mutt's place was in upstate New York,
not far from Montreal.
No. So that entire area is actually called the Mohawk Valley, and it's all unceded native territory. So that's where our people originated. Right. And then they slowly kept getting more and more pushed up north by the English and the French. Right. So they were building colonies on our land, and we eventually settled where we are now. So the town I'm in is called Kahnawake. So we're literally on. So Montreal is here. 15 minutes from my house is downtown Montreal, Metropolis Montreal. But on the South Shore is Kahnawake, and we're right along the St. Lawrence Rapids, St. Lawrence River Rapids. Okay. So that's where we get that's where the name Kahnawake comes from. Kahnawake translates to by the rapids or along the rapids.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Cool. Very cool.
So little tidbit for you.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, mate.
And it's not like Shania's native or anything, so you know.
Right. The colonial history of these places is good Lord, man. Bury my heart, wounded knee, right? It's just an endless series of
atrocities,
atrocity and treason and going back on treaties and it's
still happening to this day. You know, are you familiar with the Canadian residential schools?
No.
So residential schools were essentially they were basically concentration camps for the Indians of North America. So the Canadian government, along with the Catholic Church, would try and assimilate the Indians into being Canadian, Canadian lifestyle.
To be normal people. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
So what they would do is they would come to the reservations that they've already segregated us to in these plots of land that's reserved for the Indians.
Right.
And they would come and they would rip children out of the homes, and they would ship them to these residential schools where they effectively were subjected to sexual and physical abuse and mental abuse. They were basically beaten by nuns and priests and had it was ethnic cleansing.
And and they try to brainwash the culture out of them so that they think like a white person, think and feel, and this is your culture from now on. And
yeah, exactly.
Mate, we've done very similar things with our Indigenous people. Very similar.
Yeah, and it was so bad to the point, and honestly, they're pretty recent. The last one only closed in 1996.
Damn.
Yes.
Wow.
So my two grandparents who I live with, they're first language speakers, born and raised on a farm here in Kahnawake, where it was nothing before, to Mohawk speaking parents. My grandmother, her father's father was French. His mother was raped by a French settler or something, and that kind of thing, and it just continues down the bloodline. That's why I'm kind of fair skinned, but I have certain Native American features to me, but they went to residential school. They were beaten by nuns, and they were subjected to the abuse. And
what is it with nuns? What is that? I don't understand how any human can do that, let alone someone who purports to be a person of purity and aspires to loving your neighbor as yourself and all of that.
That's what I've seen.
Come on, man! Wow.
Yeah. So, and she'd tell me stories, and like, one of my friends, his grandparents also attended the residential school, and where like the abuse was bad.
Yeah.
And like they would tell us stories, and they're like, you're just lucky that we suffered through this and you're not going to have to, because the shit was bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
But look it up if you're ever interested.
Yeah,
Just type in
totally,
residential schools.
Yeah.
There's actually a national day, like it's a thing. It's called Orange Shirt Day, and it was actually just last Wednesday, where you wear orange to commemorate the survivors and victims of residential schools. I think the number is like over 100,000 children are still reported missing. They'd never been recorded, never had paperwork done on their thing.
Never showed up.
Never came home. Yeah. Nationwide. That's Canada. That was our equivalent of concentration camps.
Man, that is
the indigenous people in North America are the victims of the greatest mass genocide known to man, and it's a lot of the time it's just ignored because oh well, that was a long time ago. Well, no, it was as recent as 1996.
Right. Oh yeah, so we've got the same thing here. They say about our indigenous people, like, come on, you guys, it wasn't us that did that. You guys need to get over it.
Yeah. You Indians and
until Anzac Day, and we're commemorating World War One. Well, hang on, get over it.
Yeah, get over it. That wasn't us.
That wasn't us. Get over it.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's what I mean. In America, the shit that the indigenous people in the U.S. go through on a daily basis on the nations over there, it's ridiculous.
Yep.
In Canada, there was recently in the last couple of years, the Justin Trudeau government, he actually introduced legislation and created, there was an inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women.
Oh no, I've heard about this. Yes.
Yeah, because in northern Canada,
because a whole bunch just disappear for no reason, and they're murdered, and there's no consequence for this at all.
No consequence. No trace, no paperwork, like nothing, just vanished.
No, not even investigation. It's like it just goes away.
Yeah, in northern parts of Saskatchewan, the RCMP has actually now been caught because of this inquiry, this whole thing.
What's the RCMP, mate? Sorry.
The Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Yeah. So they actually got caught, and what they would do is say they'd spot a native guy walking home from the bar. They offer to give him a ride. They would drive like 20 miles out of town, strip him in blood freaking middle of winter, northern Canada, where it could be minus 50 Celsius with the wind chill.
Yep.
Strip him naked and leave him, and just drive away.
And they find his body in springtime, right?
Yep. And they'd say, how did he end up all the way out here completely naked? And there's too many for it to just be a coincidence.
Motherfuckers.
Yeah. So you can even look that up. That was reported. That was in the news and everything. And it was an official thing. And Canada's not innocent.
Wow, man.
Yeah. Now,
this is the kind of stuff Mutt and I would talk about regularly.
I'm not surprised. I feel like Mutt would totally be interested in stuff like this.
Of course he would. He would be all over it. Guaranteed. Yeah.
Yeah. Like just as recently as like 2 weeks ago, there was this whole thing. So I'm Mohawk, but I'm also part Algonquin. So so in the east coast of Canada, a lot of it's Algonquin territory. Mm-hmm. So one group of natives out there was literally being subjected to terrorist attacks by local fishermen. So there's certain treaties in play on certain bodies of water that prevent non-natives from fishing and running business on the bodies of water. But the local white men, that's not fair. That's not fair to our business. We're businessmen too. Why? Just because they're Indians, they're allowed to fish there. So they actually started.
It's called a treaty.
Yes, exactly. So, but we're not the ones that signed that. Why should we have to? It's that kind of mental. It's that attitude.
Right.
So, and these are like MAGA like type conservative Canadians.
Yeah.
So they're out there, shooting flare guns at native fishermen on their boat, cutting their lines, trying to set their boats on fire, like threatening murder and like,
Terrible.
coming to your house in the middle of the night and,
Yeah.
and it was just kind of swept under the rug in the major media. But because of social media, nothing's a secret no more.
Yeah, right.
And
but then they'll say, it's fake news.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Oh,
well.
Wow, man. Amazing.
Well, dude, good chat. It was really cool to finally meet you.
Really fun to meet you, mate. Really good. Really good.
Dude,
Let's do it again sometime. And I wish you all the very, very best and just keep up the good work,
Yeah, man. I grew up watching you and, learning from watching you on those DVDs, and you were a massive influence on me growing up and in my playing and in my childhood. And, it was really cool to finally have a chat, and just tell you thank you for everything that, you did for me growing up.
I got to thank Mutt for taking a punt on someone like me, a complete unknown. And, he wanted to get people that were unknown and, so that he started with a clean slate. So I was so fortunate to be able to be a part of it. I really was. And Andy, of course, my mate who put my name in, who I will always never ever forget and always have a massive sense of gratitude to. He put his neck on the block for me. So I'll never forget. Well,
he could have had Steve Vai, but he sort of settled for you. So.
He settled for me. That's exactly. We're talking second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, 700th best. but I was number 26, and I got the gig. There you go,
Mr. X. It's the man,
Mr. X. God bless you, man. I'll see you.
Yeah, it was great chatting. And I'm gonna send you my email address. I want copies of all of that stuff.
All right, bro. It'll be a Dropbox thing. All right.
All right. I'm gonna go listen in my studio as soon as you send it.
All right, bro.
All right, dude. Thanks.
See you, buddy.
Bye.